Welcome to Whole Lot of Wolves, episode 38 of season 3. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley.
I'm Paul LePage.
And joining us again is our fantastic producer in New York City, Mr. Alex Patakis. How's it going, Alex?
Going well. How are you guys?
Good. And we've got two guests today, which we're very excited about. They're two returning guests, and they just got back from the Molineux. Got a chance to even play on the field. So let's welcome first David Koppe. How's it going, David?
It's going good. How are you all?
Good, from New York Wolves. And then LA Wolves, Adam Ruehmer. How's it going, Adam?
What's up? Hey guys, good to be back.
I think you're the most famous Wolves fan in America due to your everybody wants you to do social media stuff for them.
That can't possibly be true, but I'll take it.
Hey, you were featured on NBC.
I was, and I feel like in the My Premier League mornings, they have a go-to photo of me with my Yorkie, both wearing Wolves stuff that has been used at least 5 times. I get a text almost every Saturday when they just need to find a Wolves fan. They either go us or they go New York Wolves. It's usually one of us, actually. To be fair,
Houston, we sometimes get. Yeah,
I've seen Houston. I've seen you guys on a few times. Yep. Yeah. We make up 95% of My Premier League morning right here on this podcast.
That's right.
For Wolves.
A friend of mine always says that our pictures all look the same. I'm like, that's because it's in the same place with the same flag and the same people.
Yeah, right.
Well, they literally just use my same photo every time. So,
well, you got a cute dog. What can we say?
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
So, guys, you were there for the game last weekend. I don't know how to describe it. I guess a demoralizing 1-1 draw. Should have been a win. I don't know. But let's be honest, there's been so much shit that's been going on. The game's kind of an after effect, but we're going to talk to you guys kind of about the experience and everything. And hopefully you guys can give some tips, and then we'll get into all this off the pitch drama. So first up, and I'll start with you, David, how long did it take you to plan this trip to go out there?
We've probably been talking about it since close to the beginning of the season, because I knew the Field of Dreams thing was going to be happening, and I'd originally told Dan, who runs New York Wolves with me, that you know what, I played in the last Field of Dreams, so this was his deal. And then Alan had said, you know, we're looking to get a good representation from all over the US, so you know, the two of us can play. So it's been in the works for a while. But I changed jobs last year. We've had some stuff going on in the family, so it was on again, off again for a little bit. So we only firmed things up a couple of months ago, and you know, made a short weekend of it. It was we landed on Thursday and left back on the way back on Monday. So we firmed plans up probably a month and a half ago.
Yeah, and I did the opposite. I think I found out in October. Actually, I hung out with David in New York in like September. I was there for work. They watched the games literally across the street from my office in New York. So I met up with those guys, and then a couple weeks later is when I found out about it. So that was, I think, October, and it's my wife and my 10-year wedding anniversary this year, and we were going to go to South America or Australia or something like that. And when I found out about this, I was like, I can't, we're doing our 10-year anniversary. We can't make this happen. And I was telling my wife about it. She's like, well, we can just do that. We can just go to Australia some other time. Let's just go. And I was like, oh, okay. So
and that's why you're married to her.
I have the best wife ever. So we extended it a bit, and we went to Scotland for a week before, hung out there for a little bit, and went to London for a few days after. So I think I started planning it really probably in January is when I really started getting going. But
was this game afterwards with all the people that had flown in from America or across the world? Was that part of the plan the whole time as well? Or was that something that developed?
Yeah. You know, they've wanted to do this. Like I said, they first did it in 2019, and then the plan was to do it after every home game. But obviously, as we know, the last 3 years have been a little abnormal football-wise. So I think this is going to be a standing thing. Obviously, not 100% about that, but yeah, that was always the plan to take in the Field of Dreams and play again. Had a little bit of a curveball about 10 days before I left when I hurt my back, and I could barely stand, let alone run around a large full-size football pitch. But intensive physical therapy got me through it. So yeah, it was always the plan to do that. And like I said, I did in 2019, and it was just awesome to do it again. And I think they made the club did a great job about it this time with the documentary, and talking to folks like Adam and all the other folks who came over. So it was a great event.
Give us your rundown of the game, man of the match, any good goals scored in front of the South Bank, who stood out on either side, any ringers. I know.
I bet Dan John was a ringer.
Quite handy.
Yeah, Dan was good. Dan was he was a standout.
Yeah.
There were a few guys who were like immediately. I don't remember who it was. Immediately, I was on the gold team and David was on the green team. So immediately, someone, I don't remember who, like on your side and the green side, had the ball and ran right down the field to score. Like 2 minutes in, I was like, "Oh, this is happening. Like we're doing this thing now."
I'm gonna claim excellent leadership. I was the captain of the green team.
That's right.
And we were all Alan had allocated numbers and formation. He said, "Hey, that was just kind of for the pictures and the graphics." And he said, "Play however you want." So when we're all getting changed, I said, "Okay, defenders stand over there, midfielders stand here, forwards stand over there," and it absolutely felt perfectly. There were 5 defenders, 6 midfielders, and 3 attackers, I think. I thought, well, we can't all go on the pitch at the same time, although I'm not sure anyone would have noticed, but it worked out perfectly with like 4 at the back with 1 to rotate in, 6 in midfield to 2 rotate in, and then 2 up front with 1 or 2 to rotate in. So that actually worked out really well. And like you said, I think you guys kicked off. I think we got it back, and then we hit it up. He ran long onto the ball, went past a couple of defenders and slotted it in the corner. And we looked at each other and said, "Okay, now we know our game plan."
Yeah,
and it worked really well. But no, there were a couple of really good players on both sides. Dan had a great game. The guy from London Wolves, I think, was the other one on your team, and we had a couple of really good players. And I think the rest of us were there to make up the numbers, to be honest.
I was just trying not to get hurt. That was my only goal.
Yeah.
What position did you play, Adam?
I ended up playing right back most of the time. Although at one point they had me at I was in the midfield, or no, I was up at the front.
Yeah.
At the second half.
I remember that. Yeah, towards the end, right?
Yeah. And I don't know, because it was rolling subs, and so someone would come on, and at one point someone just kind of slotted back into right back, and I was like, okay, I don't really know where I am now, so I just was like, I'm just gonna fill up space. I played midfield in high school, but that was 20 years ago, and boy, did I've lost a lot since then. It was actually shocking how bad I was, considering I was a decent player, like in high school.
It was after the game then when they went ahead and picked up Samato's option once they saw that Adam Ruehmer could not fill the spot at right back.
Yeah. Well, and Nelson popped by for a little bit and watched us play, and I guess he was like, "Oh, we gotta do." I guess I'll stay.
Well, I do have an exclusive. Actually, I realized that all of the off-field drama that we're currently experiencing, and I think we're going to talk about that later, I know where it came from, because as we got out, as we were warming up, Lopetegui walked by and shook all our hands, and I have it on good authority that he thought we were the reinforcements for the summer, and that's why now he's going, "Oh my God, we need to spend serious money this summer."
He did make a joke like, "Ooh, we might be able to save some money. Let's stay and watch," and that didn't work out.
How does it compute as a fan? You're watching on TV this fantastic Premier League game one week, the following week you're there, you're watching it live, then you find yourself 90 minutes later on that very same pitch. Does it even feel like the Molineux, or does it feel just like you're playing on a big park and you look around and there's this giant stadium wrapped around you? What's it feel like?
I feel like for me, I pretty quickly kind of forgot where we were. Like I just got so wrapped up in, it was just fun to be out there. I mean, when we walk out onto the pitch, obviously it was like, this is insane. Like I immediately bent down and like touched the grass, and like that was really cool. And as soon as we started playing, like I would have to kind of stop and be like, oh, oh, right, like this is incredible. I can't believe I'm doing this right here, and you'd see like slide marks in the grass, and it was like, well, that was probably Diego Costa. Like, so like that, I kept having to remind myself, like, right. Yeah, it was so cool though.
Yeah, it's the same. I think, they did a really good job having us, walk down as two teams out onto the field. They had the video, which were part 2 of which will be forthcoming. So they did it really well. And, hearing all of our friends and family up in the steeple, clapping and cheering us on was pretty
cool.
awesome. But like you said, once you start and once you're running around, you sort of forget. You're just like focusing on who's running around. Then there's a break in play. You turn around, and you go, "Oh, South Bank. Oh, that's right."
Yeah, and even like
you realize where you are and kind of stop and soak it up.
And even like sitting on the bench, I just was tired, and so I sat in those nice, comfy chairs. And I don't remember who was next to me, but they were like, "This is kind of crazy," and I was like, oh, right, this is crazy. Like, yes, this is where they sit. Again, it kind of forgot because I was just tired and exhausted. And yeah.
What's it like for the nerds among us who've played? Is it like you're playing on carpet? Does the ball run quick?
Yeah.
Is it wet? Is it like playing on a Ryder Cup golf course if you're a golfer?
It could have been. It was a really nice putting green, like at a decent country club. Like that's kind of what it felt like. I wish the grass they didn't wet it before, and I kind of wish they would have, because it was like rubber. Like if you slid, like I took a dive at one point and it hurt. Yeah. Now you know why they water that thing.
Yeah.
Because it was not watered for us. But yeah, I mean, this ball still moved, and it moved quick. Probably not as quick as it would have if it was wet, but
yeah.
I think it's something like 3 blades of grass to 3 blades of turf. The synthetic that's woven into it. So yeah.
It's I mean, the surface. You could tell it's been played on. I don't know if it's 100% immaculate at the start of the game or if there's some wear and tear from the season. But I mean, compared to any other pitch that any of us have played on, it's absolutely immaculate, and it's bloody massive.
Yeah, it was big. It was really big.
When I'd sub myself out and I'm looking at it, and a couple of us were chatting, and I said, "Yeah, I think the pitches I normally play on in the Sunday League, they're not even half this big. Then you know what I mean. It's the size of like half the pitch. It's really big."
So what was the final score?
6-4 to us.
Ugh.
Burning my memory. I led us to victory.
What's funny about that is after the game, I was like, I have no clue what the score was. I think I then got so wrapped up in everything that I was like, who won? I don't even know. Because again, my goal was just to not get hurt. So like there were a few guys who were pretty competitive. Everyone was very, very cool and like just out there to have fun. But there were some guys taking it serious. And I was like, I just don't want to get hurt. I've got a long flight. I'm not trying to. And when I got out there immediately, I thought I pulled my groin. Like I kicked it once and I started going, oh no. And so I started going easy. And then before long, it's still actually really sore right now. So I did something, but I just don't get hurt. Just don't get hurt. It's not worth it. I don't care.
If only Big Sassy had the same, dedication to not getting hurt on his first trip.
I mean, like I said, I was essentially carrying quite an injury, my back being sore, and I think my groin is still hurting, and I've been unable to sit down properly because my back's in spasms. But it's the pain is worth it. But yeah,
and I didn't have any boots because I haven't played since high school. So I just went on Amazon and ordered the cheapest pair I could find. And that was a mistake. Oh boy. Oh, I could feel every stud under my foot. And I kept thinking they were going to fall off. And I think that led to me being even more sore. There was a thrift store right next to our hotel in London. And I just gave them to them afterwards. I was like, I don't want to take these home. You guys want some boots? So.
Probably could have gotten them from the thrift store earlier.
I probably should have. It was a very last minute thought.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought that. So, guys, here's a question I have, being somebody that hasn't been able to go out there yet. Wolves have the international members club up right now with the price frozen until June 2nd. Is that do you feel like you need to do that in order to really get the priority to get the tickets? And can you just have one, or if it's your whole family, do you guys need to get one for each of them?
Yeah, you need one for each. So like when my wife and I went last year, we both had to get a membership.
Okay.
And if you get it early, it comes with a cool package. They often run out of the stuff later in the season, but you do need one for each. And they
Okay.
comes with cool little stuff too. So, and Wolves are really cool. Like for they helped us get tickets this time, and which is really nice of them. So,
buying tickets. I think the international membership is cool. It's only about $50, and you
yeah, it's
do
not
get,
bad.
a pair
I
of
think I've got
lucky
my
socks, which aren't lucky. I never wear them on match day. I did it once and we lost, so I never will again. Like a keychain and a scarf. So you get some stuff that's sort of worth it for just the coolness. It's not stuff from the club shop. It's like a little bit different. But the key thing with buying tickets is loyalty points. And by buying the membership, I think you get 10 loyalty points, which may not sound much, but the way they sell the tickets is you start off at season ticket holders, and then it ticks down the loyalty points. So by having those loyalty points, you get to buy tickets yourself on the website before they go on general sale. So it just puts you that one step ahead in the queue.
Okay.
So it gives you a bit of a preference for buying tickets, and then obviously through Worldwide Wolves, you can apply for tickets through your local chairman, and then when you do that, you get loyalty points for that purchase as well. So because I've been back, I think I was only back once this season, but every time you buy, you get more loyalty points. So the membership I think is worth it if you think you're going to go that season. And obviously you get the cool stuff with the membership as well.
Now, is there any kind of StubHub or anything out there if you're not able to do
trust
that?
it. If there is, I wouldn't trust it.
There's actually there's the club have a ticketing focus group that I'm a part of at the moment. So they meet once in a while and kind of discuss all the different ways of buying and selling tickets. And the club need to know who's in a seat, right? So they do try and crack down on people giving away tickets, selling them outside the stadium. There is this Facebook groups where people try and exchange tickets, and they're trying to strike the right balance of not being overbearing and stopping people going. We all want a full stadium, but also to foster a good environment where they can exchange tickets. So there's a lot of different ideas out there, and a lot of the conversation revolves around season ticket holders and what do they do with tickets if they can't go. So the best way is to go onto the Wolves site, and again, if you're traveling from outside the UK, your local Worldwide Wolves chairman can put your name in for tickets, and no guarantees, but Alan Perrins has always done a great job trying to get us tickets. So that's the best way to do it. I wouldn't buy them through a third party.
Now, the hack I used last year when I went is I was like, what's a game that the away fans aren't really going to travel to, and even maybe the home fans. So I went to Burnley on a Wednesday night, and it was actually pretty easy to get tickets. So it wasn't bad.
In the away end or the home end?
I sat in what's usually the away end, but because not that many Burnley fans, they opened it up to home fans. I've stuck Burnley fans up in the corner. So I was in Steve Bowl lower for that game, actually.
Okay.
Nice.
That's a great scenario because most away fans go in the Steve Bowl lower. And that quadrant where they get the Worldwide Wolves tickets, that's sort of a spare area. But I think Watford were there last season as well. If it's a midweek game where there's not a lot of fans, they'll stick the away fans up there, and then that opens up a ton of tickets in the Steve Bowl lower. So it's a lot easier to get in there. But it's tough.
The area we sat was really great too for the game against Everton last week. Like they put in that corner, great view of the whole pitch. Like those were great seats.
Yeah, you sometimes the Worldwide Wolves tickets are sometimes in the upper tier, which I think is even better because I went to when we came from 2-0 down against Man City to win 3-2, still to this day the best match of my life. We were in the upper, and what a view from up there, and we were right in line with Doherty's winner.
Oh,
Wow, I'm
man.
getting chills thinking about it. So yeah, the North Bank is a great place to watch from.
Still my favorite Wolves game.
Yeah, that's the one that convinced me to be a Wolves fan.
Oh wow, that's awesome. I had to think about it because the January 1st, 1994 one win at Newcastle with a bully hat trick in 9 minutes after we'd taken 8 7-3-7s up to Newcastle. That was up until that point the best game. But yeah, that 3-2 win. I had to think about it for a few days, but yeah, that totally took the biscuit.
So let's talk about the game real quick, guys. Paul, what were your thoughts? Should have been a win. There was like 80 gazillion minutes of stoppage time. Turns out to be a 1-1 draw on basically the final kick of the game. What were your thoughts afterwards, Paul? Other than thank God we didn't need 3 points there.
I thought for the most part it had all the hallmarks of being that typical nothing to play for end of season fare from us, that in patches we looked okay. We're pretty much under the cosh a little bit in terms of them bringing the pressure on and knowing that they certainly had to get something out of the game, but then kind of scoring when we did. And I think we had a passage in play early-ish in the second half when we probably had 2 or 3 chances back to back. I thought if we'd have scored then we'd have gone on and won quite comfortably, but there was always that unnerving feeling, I think, of how we set up, and they were dropping deeper and deeper, and it just that horrible defense against the Sean Dyche offense with the long throws and the niggles against the keeper and the fisticuffs for positioning. It was just that horrible feeling that you knew what was coming, and that was what it was really. It was a badly defended set piece and a goalkeeper out of position coming for a ball that he really shouldn't have, and that gets put away, and there you go. But where they got 9 minutes from, heaven
That's
only
crazy.
knows. It was back to those World Cup scenarios. It was
Yeah.
that we've
Gosh,
not
time.
seen all season, and all of a sudden it's this big deal. So yeah, thank goodness we didn't have anything serious riding on it.
David, what was the feeling in the stands like when Everton tied it up there?
Well, there was
Adam's
a
shaking his
chorus. Yeah, there was a chorus of 9 minutes.
I turned.
When
We were David and I
when they made
were
that
sitting next to each other, and I said, "Did they really just say 9
Yeah.
minutes?"
Yeah.
I turned to him, and he's like,
I mean-
"Uh huh."
It did sort of feel like it was coming. I don't know. I felt like we were going to hold on. The match was back and forth. I mean, Everton probably started a bit stronger, but I think overall we looked the better team. We just, this is going to sound very repetitive, but we just couldn't put them away. How many times have we said that's its season?
A lot.
And when Mina put it in, and we were down the far end, so I didn't really exactly see what happened, and I honestly haven't watched it yet because I have no intention of really caring. You just saw the ball go in, and the Everton fans just erupted like they'd won the league, and I think all the Wolves fans just went, threw their heads back, and just typical. It was just really deflating. Not how you wanted to end the season. But like I said, it didn't really matter for us. I think honestly that could be the point that keeps Everton up. So obviously they were jubilant and they stuck around after the match a bit. But it was just not that it really mattered. But it just it would have been nice to end the season with a 5th home win and clean sheet in a row and really get some momentum going into next season. And it was just really deflating, honestly.
Adam, I think we can now say that Dan Bentley not going to be Wolves starting keeper next season, right?
I mean, I have watched it back multiple times, and it was because, again, like he said, where we were sitting, we were on the other end, and
Right.
it felt okay, and then those last like 3 minutes, it was like, oh, something doesn't feel right. And from where we were, we just saw the ball cross the net and then cross again. And that's when I was like, that's not. And I just saw this purple shirt out in Never Never Land. And I was like, oh. So yeah. And it was like, because we were sitting right next to the Everton section. So like I've got this amazing video of this 8-year-old kid screaming down at them, waving goodbye like minutes before that goal. And I was like, this is going to be something really fun. He was just yelling at them the whole time. And then that happens and the energy just got sucked out of the stadium. And that section's just losing. That was the worst part of sitting so close to them. Cause like you could feel our energy leave and theirs like coming. And it was just, that hurt. Yeah, I wish Jose Sa would have been in goal at that moment. I'll be honest, but
that's a big thing just in terms of the balance of American sport and traveling to watch your team. That doesn't happen a lot. So when you experience it, especially in your home ground of something like that happening, it's really something that you take in, because it's a proper gut punch. It really hurts. And just looking over, there's no worse sight than seeing that celebration.
You know, like the best way to describe it is because, like, obviously Wolves fans, we were yelling at them the whole game and chanting and all this stuff. And the best way to describe it is it's embarrassing. Like you're standing there and they're looking up at you and you're just like, oh, God, I was just yelling at you 30 seconds ago about how you're going to be in the championship next year. Like,
it immediately changed to me of really wanting them to go down at that point.
That's exactly what I think.
I know.
Yeah, I'm still out to go down.
I can picture the guys sitting 20 yards away from us, and I want them to be miserable on Sunday. So
just like when Leeds beat us, I was like, I'm still out to go down, and now I flip-flop purely off that goal. So it's terrible.
I'm actually watching the goal back on my phone right now.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it.
I think this is the corner.
Yeah, Bentley just, I don't know, man. He had a couple of brain farts in that game. It felt like, he was going to let something go. Yeah. So, well,
but you know what? To that point, like, again, the game didn't matter for us. Let's take a look. Let's see what we have. Like, I don't have any problem with him playing. Like, I think we should see what we've got, And,
oh no, David's face.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much our reaction too.
That's awesome.
So definitely almost the entire match you could hear everybody singing Si Senor.
Oh man.
What was the reaction once you realized the fifth sub was coming on and it wasn't Raul?
So we saw them running up and down the side, and I saw it was Raul, Cunha, and I don't remember who the other one was. I was kind of keeping an eye on them and looking at the clock. I don't remember what time they came on, maybe 80 in, 75. I don't remember. Yeah. But I remember thinking like any minute he's going to look down there and we're going to see who's coming in. And I saw them all kind of look over, and then Cunha and whoever the other guy was start running over. And I just saw Raul drop his head and start walking. And I was like, oh man. And then I think David was like, a few minutes later, was like, where did what's going on? What happened? And I said, I think I just saw Raul take his jacket off and walk under the tunnel. I was like, which is a weird sight to see a gold number 9 walking down the tunnel. And obviously we know now that's what happened. But it was like, I will say it was like the highlight of the whole game, and maybe even the whole experience on the pitch and everything for me was like, we got to yell Si Senor the entire game, and knowing he was sitting on the bench and then in the locker room, and like even the Neves, like all that was like, to me, like the highlight, like you screaming that, it was so loud. It was really cool to kind of be a part of that, how much those players have meant to us. So
I remember you saying that to me now, that I think you thought Raul had gone down the tunnel, and obviously we found out later he'd thrown his top at the bench. But just to add to that, after the match, we're all going, oh, it would have been nice for him to get on, but Lopetegui's got to be professional. He's got to do what he thinks is right to win the game. and all of that. In a match that maybe didn't matter, should he have put Raul on? I think he said afterwards, maybe I didn't do the right thing. But after the final whistle, this is what really got me. They're doing the lap of honor, and I look down and there's Raul, his wife, and his kids, and Raul's got his hands in his head in his hands, and you could
Oh, he was
tell
crying.
immediately he was crying. And I'm not gonna lie, my eyes teared up.
Yeah.
They're starting to again. It was just so emotional. Not just that, hey, here's a great player who's playing his last game, but what he went through, and nearly losing his life. And I just hope he's got one more match left, and guess where it is?
Yeah, I mean, come
I
on.
hope he scores
can you
the winner
imagine?
at the Emirates on Saturday. That
I
would
didn't
be
even think
beautiful.
about that.
On Sunday. That will
A
make
header.
a
header. I want a header.
A header at the near post where
Yep, I want a header at the near post.
That would be nice. But yeah, that was just that. I mean, you saw the pictures afterwards, but as soon as I looked down and saw him, you knew he was getting emotional. I'm really glad he came back out and did that.
Yeah.
And he, like you said, Adam, the chorus of Si Senor at that point, we were singing it during the game, but then when he was right in front of the North Bank, and as you could hear the other stands do it as he went in front of them, in front of the Steve Ball and then the South Bank, they all just full force. Yeah. And I mean, what a great send-off. I know he didn't get on the pitch, but he's got no doubts about how the fans feel about him, and he deserves it. And the same for Neves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Lopetegui said after the match, like you guys said, maybe I didn't make the right move, but he also said, hey, look, I was trying to win the game because of the fact that this plays a role in relegation, and he didn't want to just roll over. He didn't feel like that was fair to the other squads. Paul, after the game on the tweets that we're talking about, Lopetegui was like, well, maybe I made the wrong decision. There were so many people there like, this is unforgivable. We'll never blah, 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 blah. What are your thoughts? Because to me, I said, yeah, I'm like David and Adam. It stinks he didn't get in, but I understand why.
Yeah, similar. I think when it did get to that point and that stage in the game, he was doing it tactically. If we were 2 or 3 up, it's completely no-brainer that he'd come on for that token 10, 15 minutes. So you have to balance both of those scenarios out equally, and there's relegation riding on it. There's a couple of £1 million in terms of league position as well, potentially as well. So that factors into it. Plus, we've still got that last game, and whilst it would have been nice for him to have a playing send-off at Molineux, he did get that lap, and he could start on Sunday or come on and make a contribution. So based on all that, I wasn't in the Lopetegui should be lynched mob whatsoever.
Alex, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually agree. It's tough because the injury is what everyone wants to point to, and I feel like we all have this tendency to say like Raul put his life on the line for the club, but by that logic, every player who's out there every game is putting their life on the line. He just happened to be the really unlucky one, So it's unfortunate, but I kind of get Lopetegui's perspective and respect it. He's not here to kind of have warm and fuzzies. He's here to do what's best for the club, and it's telling that Diego Costa, Cunha, there was just so many forwards who are better than Raul at this point. That's really unfortunate, and it's nobody's fault other than fucking David Luiz, probably. But I get it. Like they've given him opportunities to succeed. That's the thing, like we all point to how thin they've been at striker. And I kind of almost wonder if in part of that is like the club's vote of confidence in him to prove that he can still be that player, but he just hasn't been able to do it. So,
I feel like too, so many of our complaints about Lodge were like, oh, he just plays the players he feels like he should, like that was our complaint before. And frankly, I want a manager, again, right decision or not in that moment, debatable, but I wanted a manager who's not playing with emotions. I want the guy who's in any particular moment trying to win a match.
Yeah.
That's the manager I want. And maybe he made a mistake then. I'll forgive him if that means that's what he's going to do going forward.
The only thing I'd add to that, well, a couple of things. One, yes, Lopetegui's got to go to win the match. At the time, don't forget, we were only 1-0 up and he was trying to get us a second goal to make it safe. But two things. One, why did he sub Neves off? I think he got a standing ovation coming off the pitch. Now, was that an emotional thing to give him an ovation, which then you would say, well, okay, so why didn't you put Raul in? But honestly, I know Raul is not the player that he was 3.5 years ago? One, because it's 3.5 years later, and he's older, he's the wrong side of 30, and obviously the horrific injury. But I thought he was starting to get back to his best. His last couple of games, I think one of them was Tottenham. I remember, I forget if we were at McHale's or we were chatting afterwards. I said, he really was showing some fight there. And I know Costa's done great and he's come on fantastically since he first joined as a out of shape 34-year-old, and he's done really well. But I'm not so sure that Costa's been light years ahead of where Raul was in those last couple of games. Prime Diego Costa versus prime Raul, you're going to start Costa all the time. But from what I'd seen in the players, I'm not sure there's that much between them. Now, we don't know what happens on the training field, and there was mention of Raul had a couple of injuries and so on. So, it's a little unfortunate, but again, Lopetegui's going to live or die by the decisions he makes, and he's done pretty well so far. So I'm willing to give him a pass, and I'm definitely not one of the lynch him brigade. I just really wished I could have seen Raul play one more time, but that's okay. He'll score the winner on Sunday with a near post header. If we all will it, it will happen.
Paul, another guy who was missing was João Moutinho, and apparently he just said, "Nah, fam, you don't gotta play me. I wanna stay healthy." Which sounds like what Koppe's excuse was for not playing as much during the thing. Is like, I gotta stay healthy, guys. Think you're making. I don't see you going to Sporting though. So, Paul, what were your thoughts on that? And then how Lopetegui
I had a missed call, so it might have been.
Yeah, how Lopetegui kind of threw him under the bus too. Well, he didn't want to play.
It's funny that that's the exact type of game that he's actually been coming into and contributing off the bench from. That when we've been trying to hold on to a lead, or he could play that further forward midfielder who would be running around a little more and doing the press. So it really taught to that it was down to him saying, I didn't want to be involved, because even out of him and Traore, Boubacar, he gets that place on the bench even still. So that was somewhat odd. I'd just from a player of his purported professionalism and what he's done in the game for clubs and country, it just seems it seems strange. But I will say, I do generally think that we are revolution more than evolution, and we're going to talk about it some more, but I firmly believe that this is Lopetegui putting his foot down and putting his stamp on the team, and there could well be more than a few players with their feathers ruffled. We can only extend that even to Neto, who rumours are that he left the ground early, pissed off, wasn't involved in any of the afters. Same with Johnny as well. So I think we're in for somewhat of a summer of change.
Which again, if it's the right thing for the club, I'm here for it. Like, Johnny's one of my favorite players, and it was awful not to see him in, and Neto, and but you know what? Moving forward, it's like I want them to get points and I want them to win. And if it's a completely unrecognizable squad, that's fine with me.
Yeah,
because I'm cheering for Wolverhampton Wanderers, not guys on the team.
It's been a tough season. It's been a really long
a friend of mine
season.
always has a saying. He's not a Wolves fan, but the badge on the front is more important than the name on the back, and I think that's what we got to remember. And I think it is a little. I'm trying to remember other like last home games. Lopetegui's he's gonna live and die by his decisions, just like when Fosun moved Nuno on. I said, that's a brave move. I think that's what happened, but that's a brave move. But they're going to live and die by it, and they almost died by it. But they came in and made that. That's when you're in leadership, you got to make those big decisions, and Lopetegui's doing that, and I've got no problem with that. I do think it's a little disappointing that even the players who weren't on the bench, especially someone like Moutinho, who would have got just as rousing a reception as Neves and Raul did, and Johnny as well, probably.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure we've got a Johnny song.
Yeah,
He
it's
had
he
Johnny
took over. He took over. He likes the pizza and pasta, except they changed it up after.
Did they really?
Right? Yeah, it's like he likes.
Oh, okay.
Sangria and something, I think.
Yeah,
that's right. That
Yeah.
sounds vaguely familiar. That's right.
Oh, okay. It's disappointing that those players, and there was a great picture on one of the Facebook groups of, I think it was one of the Europa League games, where there was the squad and they'd faded out or decolorized the players that had already left, and there were I think 5 players in there: Moutinho, Neves, Raul, Johnny, and Traore, I think, all of whom we're assuming are going to be gone. And that epic point in time of Wolves history in the Europa League, the quarterfinals of the Europa League, and now presumably start of next season, every single player in that picture will be gone. But I think it's time. I certainly don't want Neves to leave, but new manager, 2 managers on from Nuno, 5 years by the end of the season, 6 years on from our first season. You've got to move on, and like I said, the badge on the front is more important than the name on the back, and we gotta progress.
So, guys, was the kind of the talk in the pub afterwards that indeed Neves, Adama, Raul, none of them are coming back next season?
Most of the talk was about how sore we were.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think. Yeah.
Most of the talk was "ow" in 3 different languages.
when Everton scored, and it drained the life out, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, I mean, I'm still excited to go play, but like, man, that kind of took the energy out of me a little bit, as opposed to had we won that game and gone down to the field. Yeah. No, I think the talk in town was the same as the talk on Twitter. So
now, Dave, we have to talk about your selfie that you took with one Mr. Adama Traore, who Alex and I love. You love to hate Adama, and yet there you are, smiling.
No, I don't love to hate him. I think he's the irony of that picture will not be lost on a few of my local members. No, Adama's just a phenomenal player who's got some unique qualities, and like what he did for the goal. If that's his last contribution to Wolves, then that's fantastic. It's a great memory of what he brought to the team, but it's just a lack of consistency. And after this amount of time, I don't think he's going to get that consistency. But he's still done a lot for Wolves. I mean, his 2 goals at the Etihad, the contribution he played in that 3-2 win over City, that was the second match of the double. And those, 6 months, 9 months, where him and Raul just had this telepathic understanding and they were invincible. I mean, those are some fantastic memories. And, much as I think he could have been, he was a very frustrating player. I'm talking about him in the past tense. He's a frustrating player because of the consistency and not living up to his potential. It's almost you're frustrated because you're like, if he could just channel his strengths and then just like improve decision making a little bit, he would just be absolutely world class. But he's contributed a lot of great memories for us all, and fair play. He's a great guy from all accounts, and hey, he's out of contract in the summer, just like João Moutinho, but he was there, he played, and he came and thanked the fans. So got to give him credit for that. And yeah, that picture was taken by one of the official photographers, and I'm not cheek to cheek with him, and I have photographic proof of that, of my selfie.
That was like a microcosm of his career, though, in a Wolves jersey. That game and that goal, that it was that one fleeting moment that was fantastic when he's unplayable, but he still doesn't get any credit because he forced a save from the keeper and Wang slotted it in. It's not even an assist. It'll never be seen in the record books, yet we wouldn't have scored if it wasn't for him. So
surely that was an
Adama
assist,
in a
though.
nutshell.
He didn't get an assist for that?
Don't believe so. Yeah,
I think so.
not when it's a save off the keeper. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, but a load of other times in the game, he shanked across into the South Bank and the North Bank.
Yeah.
You did not deserve that photo
microcosm.
right there. That is
No, I know. Like I said, I have received many ironic comments from many people. So
I would love to interject with a no stupid question here. That is just for you because you're the only one that's been close enough. So can you confirm what kind of oil, in fact, he uses? Like, was he smelling of olive oil, baby oil,
I
seed
think it was
oil of some
post-showers.
sorts?
It was post shower, yeah. But
And
like
and
I
they
said
gave
when I
us
posted my picture, it was a hell of an effort to catch up to him to get that selfie. That took everything out of me.
and they kind of gave us free reign of the training rooms right after the players had been there. And I swear to God, I went in every corner that I didn't see any baby oil. So I don't know where he gets it.
Yeah.
I was hoping there'd
It's
be
in the
like a
trainer's
stash
room.
somewhere.
Yeah.
That we were in
TBD.
there. Yeah, I didn't see any. So maybe they took it with them.
Well, before that game, Liam Keane probably dropped the best piece of reporting that I had seen a Wolves reporter ever do on Wolves in a little bit of fair financial play trouble, Paul. And then he came out and was like, hey, they lied to Lopetegui about it. Really broke it down as far as it looked like they maybe not even able to afford Semedo and what the ramifications were going to be. And now, Paul, that's caused a week of subtweeting essentially in the media with Lopetegui, like, well, I have a contract, but we'll see. And nobody knows, exactly what to think. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I think very much high level, and I really hope that I'm right. It's showing that we've got a manager now. We've not got a coach. We've got a manager who firmly wants to wrap his hands around it all and craft and model the team in his image. So I think as an overriding theme, hopefully it boils down to that. And what he's doing, he's trying to put that across, and he's maybe saying it in a way that you get a little bit of lost in translation, the little Spanish to English. Is he really putting it across in the terms that we're familiar with? I think there's some of that going on, but what I don't like the dirty laundry being aired in public. Now, whether that's just because we're not so used to it, that Large probably was, maybe Nuno was more of a yes man, towing the company line, whether Lopetegui's not standing for any of that and he's just getting out there and putting his will, what he wants to do across. I'm hoping that's the case. And what you do pick up from these sound bites subsequently, it's not really nothing that anyone's known. And I think even when he says about the financial fair play portion, yeah, you might not know the intricacies and the specifics of it, but all he has to be worried about really is if Neves gets sold, and Neves gets sold early, because all of a sudden that opens up the coffers based on financial fair play and what that allows them to sign based on the profit from Neves's deal and his amortization going down, and then throw in 2 or 3 more, potentially even some of the kids that have been on loan, like a Ryan Giles, for example. If he went for 12, 15 million, that kind of quadruples in financial fair play terms. So there's a significant amount there, and he's I've probably got two effectively surprises to go potentially, in that it could be Kilman and now Neto. All of a sudden, if you're talking maybe 50 million for those two combined, maybe a little less, all of a sudden you've got your war chest then, and you've got those 5 players that Liam Keane alluded to in that article that he wants to build the squad out. So hopefully it's just a lot of posturing. Hopefully it's because he's a much stronger character, but that's not to forget that he shafted his national team to take the Real Madrid job before the World Cup. So who knows?
In his defense, he was still going to coach Spain before moving to Real Madrid. They just fired him immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, how frustrating is it? FFP, like, I understand Wolves spent a ton of money, so I wasn't that surprised to see that there were some issues. But then you see what Chelsea's been doing and all this stuff, and it's like, really, this is just so frustrating that a club like ours is just every little thing, every little finance has to pick and pick, whereas Chelsea has more players than lockers. It's just so frustrating, right?
Well,
Dave,
and I think,
Adam?
I think that's why it's more important than ever to build out Wolves as a global brand, because that's what Chelsea is they're a global brand. And you walk down the street in the United States and you see people wearing Chelsea kits, and when Wolves do all these things like, the esports or the record label or whatever, like that all is important, I think, to factor into all of this, is because they can't just rely on the football, for everything. Because Chelsea's a global brand. Like, they're not, necessarily relying on ticket sales to like, and Manchester United is a globally known brand. So again, you see all these comments on it. Drives me crazy when I see people like, oh, the esports team. It's like, well, how do you think you build a global brand? And I'm not saying it's going to be done through the esports team, but like, that's just one piece of it. And it's really, really important to grow I will never forget, I had a hat on. I was wearing a Wolves hat, and I was with my then 13-year-old nephew or something. And his buddy comes up to me. He's like, I know that logo. And I was like, oh, are you a soccer fan? And he goes,
Wow.
no, it was on Fortnite. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Because they had a skin on Fortnite. And he's this kid in Southern California, didn't know what it was, didn't even know it was a football club, but he knew that because it was on Fortnite. And I was like, exactly, that's global branding. And and honestly, I think Wolves do a pretty good job of it, better than a lot of clubs on their tier. And they're thinking very far ahead, whether it's the label or esports or whatever. I think they're consciously thinking about that, because it's all going to come back to the football team at some point. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I mean, I think, I squirm when I hear my team referred to as a brand, just like I squirm when I hear football referred to as a product. But, we're passionate fans who support our team. But that's exactly what it is. And the brand brings in revenue, and it's not going to be overnight. But it's every bit helps. And, to add to what Adam said, Chelsea and Man United are not only global brands, but they have been for decades, right? And that helps to fill the coffers, and it's all commercials now. And Wolves realize that we can't suddenly become a Chelsea level brand in 3 years. It's going to take decades, quite frankly. So what do you do in the meantime? If you've got to drive other areas of revenue, and it's going to take a while, and it is weird for people to accept and deal with. But then I think the other thing is that financial fair play is not financial fair play at all. It's very badly written rules. And, the one I would turn around is PSG. And apologies to any PSG fans listening, but from my perspective, and I'm happy to be told I'm wrong, PSG are not the same level brand as Man United. When you walk down the street in most major cities, for every PSG shirt you see, you'll see 10 Man Uniteds, 10 Tottenhams, 10 Chelseas, 10 Real Madrid, Barcelonas. So, I honestly, how PSG can spend the money they spent on Mbappe, Messi, Neymar,
Mhm.
it's no. But it is weird because now Barcelona, although actually isn't Barcelona, their financial troubles come from La Liga, not from UEFA financial fair play. So it definitely feels like there's kind of two rules here. And, Manchester City, if they have broken those rules, if financial fair play means anything, and Man City are shown to have broken that many rules, the punishment needs to be pretty epic. Like Juventus, what was it, 20 years ago level, where they were relegated, one or two divisions. That's if it's going to mean anything, that's what they've got to do. Because as it is, it just punishes teams that are. I honestly think Wolves are being run extremely well. And you look at when we got hit with FFP penalties, we were punished for being too successful too quickly. Fosun came in, invested wisely in a team in the Championship, and within 2 years, we were playing Europa League football in a sustainable way where we'd, you look at Jota, we spent 10 million on him and sold him for 45.
Yeah.
Fantastically positive way of investing, taking a chance, but turning those assets around, upping the value of those assets, and yet we're punished for it. So it's just a very poorly written set of regulations. But the bottom line is, I'll get off my soapbox. Bottom line is we have to adhere to them. And if that means selling players and working within those constraints, then so be it. On the Lopetegui situation, I'm hoping it's just in quiet end of season media world, people are just looking for stories to get clicks and making more out of it than it is. When I read Lopetegui's interview, when I read his interview with I think it was with the Athletic, where he said, "Hey, I'm not looking for 5 players from Real Madrid and Barcelona. Maybe Championship." That didn't sound like a manager that was about to walk. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I've always been a bit of a happy clapper. So
I think it talks to that exact strategy though, because where you're not going to be spending those mega millions, you may get the occasional Cunha, but who's been the most successful recent arrivals? It's been Dawson, it's been Lamina for that type of investment. And then you're probably looking towards the next golden goose of probably being Gomez or someone like that. Or if they are looking for the Championship, would this Alex Scott of Bristol City be the next big thing that they could bring in for 12, 15 and flip him if needed in a season or two's time for 35, 40? So I think that's what the posturing's got a lot to do with, and it's maybe setting some expectations that's the remit that we're now operating in.
Well, and I did like in that article how they said, they're going to stop focusing on those bigger budget guys like the Matthias, guys like that, because they wanted to go back to the roots that they had success with, which was finding those mid-tier guys, those 15 to 25 million pound players, a little bit yet less. They wanted guys that want to come to Wolves. And I think that was really shown. Dawson, Lamina, João Gomez obviously wanted to come. And then I thought another bombshell that was in there was how they were trying to move away from Mendes more. And they said Mendes tried to push Dawson and Lamina away because he didn't think they'd come to Wolves. And then here's where I'm done with Mendes now. He even tried to help French club Lyon sign João Gomez because Wolves did not need his services to sign the player.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to be done with him.
I think Mendes has helped us back in the day, but I think Nunez and Cunha are good players.
Yeah.
But they were pretty pricey and they have not lived up to their price tag yet. And we can't afford to be spending that amount of money on players like that. We need players like Neves and Jota when they first arrived who absolutely rip it up. Raul, what a fantastic signing Raul was.
Yeah, Moutinho was dirt cheap.
Moutinho was just that's a legendary purchase, that is. What was it, 5 million for João Moutinho for 5 years? Oh my God.
But you look at some of the guys Mendes brought in. He brought in Catrone, and he brought in uh Guedes, and he brought in Trincao, Neto, who's been kind of hit or miss. That's another one with injuries. So I was really glad to see that they want to move away from him and focus on guys who want to be Wolves players. Because I do think that's the key. That's the Wolves that a lot of us younger fans really attracted to it is that, they played with a lot of passion. They weren't in there just for paychecks, which you could argue there's a few players on the team that are. Paul, what did you think of just anything else in that article that stood out to you?
I was probably interested in how it's developed, in that there was talk of those 5 players that they've got that they're looking at, and they're worried that they may miss out on those targets if it doesn't get resolved. And then I think today was the latest that they're looking at the spine of the team, which means centre back, centre midfield, and a striker. I don't think that's anything that no one doesn't already know. So I think that tallies, but it did make me chuckle that immediately they said that there's a financial fair play issue, and that's probably preventing Semedo being tied down to his 2-year option, and then 48 hours later that's all done and dusted. So
hey, here's a thought on that one. Was it because Forest stayed up and we knew we're getting more money from Gibbs White? Is that why they were able to do it?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, but potentially and again, when you're able to extend that initial payment of Semedo over a further 2 years, again with amortization and everything, that makes him a much cheaper option to retain for 2 years than going out and buying someone of equal or lesser quality. So I think that factors into it, that he could still find his position under threat potentially. But is that still is it a better option to lock him down at his age rather than go out and try and find a replacement? It makes a ton of sense to do that. So I just hope they're being sensible, doing it in the right way. It quickly gets resolved, and I think it could be like you mentioned, Dave, that Forest stay up, we get some money from them. It could be that Coventry miss out in the playoffs, Luton go up, and suddenly we're in for Casper Yorkes as a number 9, and you sign him relatively quickly. People will be going panic. What panic? They're just doing things like it should be done. So I think we'll see in these next few weeks. I think it'll play out, and I think it will have to play out pretty quickly. I think that's the only saving grace with all this going on right now.
Paul, what do you think's most likely? Fosun invest their own money in there to get around FFP. They bring in an investment from somebody here in the next couple of weeks, or they just say, nope, we're not doing anything, and it's a long, brutal summer for us.
I don't think even the investment angle solves FFP, because it's all about the playing staff and the transfers. Even throwing a bunch of funds at it, you're going to have to be creative with the books in order to make it work. So I don't think that's going to be an advantageous route anyway. I'm going in firmly in the camp Lopetegui, and he's put the infrastructure in, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, but he's got his right-hand man, that Garzinga or whoever it was, who did all of the work about nurturing the talent and bringing them through. He's in place. All the backroom staff have moved over. They live in or near to Wolverhampton. I think there's a long-term plan in place that we're going to be operating in a slightly different structure in terms of incoming and outgoings, and hopefully that ties in with what Fosun always wanted, was to be more self-sustaining. But if push comes to shove and it's needed, that they can step in if a deal becomes available or something happens that they need to act on.
And Adam, you've talked real big on branding. That brand's worthless if they don't stay in the Premier League, right? So it's almost worth just paying the whatever.
And I think Fosun's I mean, obviously they're aware of that, obviously, but it does feel like it is just like staying up to them is just. Look what happened at Christmas, and look what happened at at the World Cup break. Like, they are to Paul. I think Paul just made a really good point of like, if push comes to shove and they need to write the check, they'll do it, but it's a kind of a last resort for them, which frankly I like. I think David said, they do good business. Like, I think they run the club well as a business, because that's what it is. And you hate calling it a brand, but it's that's what I work in the music industry, so I call your favorite bands brands every single day. And by the way, so do they, because that's how they think of themselves, and that's how they sustain themselves when they're not on tour or whatever. So it's incredibly important to continue to build that. So yeah.
Alex, or is Whole Lot of Wolves a brand?
Oh yeah. Huge brand worldwide soon.
Hopefully.
Didn't we have a listener in we had one listener in like the most random place. I forget where it was. Paul found it.
You had someone on from Japan.
From Japan, yeah.
Oh,
Miss
yeah,
Neto,
guesting,
Miss Neto listens in Portugal as well. So
I was listening to that podcast when you had the guy from Japan on, when I was doing my one of my few training sessions for the Field of Dreams at a hotel in San Francisco, I think it was. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Speaking of brands, I mean, I'm going to get a lot of groans here, but look at what Wrexham is doing. And obviously there's a million.
That's a great point.
Oh my God. And they just sold the branding rights to the stadium. Like those guys are so smart. And it's a very, very, very incredibly unique scenario, obviously. But like, God, those guys knows how to sell a brand. Like, it's crazy.
I agree. I think we're going to see if Wrexham can move up a little bit more, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of Wrexham shirts. I mean, hell, we already see a lot of AFC Richmond shirts.
All the time. I see people wearing AFC Richmond shirts all the time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Hey, so you mentioned something there, Adam. Here's a question for everyone. Will Fosun sell the naming rights for Molineux?
I don't think so. I don't think it's as valuable as the race course in Wrexham, frankly. Like, that's on TV. It's part of a documentary. Like, and also Molineux just kind of I don't know. It's like the Cubs have never sold. The Cubs are never going to sell. Never. God, I'm going to knock because I hate their owners. But like, I don't think they're ever going to sell the naming rights to Wrigley Field because it's Wrigley Field. I don't know. You know what? I'm not a lifelong fan, so I'm curious what your thoughts on that would be. Because for me, I'm like, whatever, sell it. Like, let's get more. But if sold the rights to Wrigley Field, I would riot and I would burn the oven. So
that would be a tough one.
I was reading when you said that. It's funny you say that though, because when I saw the Wrexham thing today, the first thing I did was like, what are all the fans saying? And I think they've all bought in to what's happening. So most of the comments were incredibly positive. But
they're like, we've been in like fifth tier. We're moving. People are
good.
To us. Hot
Whatever you want.
We know our place.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I wonder. I've always sort of hated that. Like, when Ashley did it to Newcastle, and what did they snuck in like late on a Friday night and changed the name of St. James's Park to what is Sports Direct Arena, and there was virtually a riot. I wonder if there's some way you've got to retain the name Molineux, but is there some kind of hybrid where you can say, I don't even know what, the some brand that will give us a boatload of money, Molineux Stadium, right? They can insert their name, but Molineux.
Well,
the,
it's
the
where
Batham's
there's
Molineux Stadium.
That's
I don't
it.
think Batham's have the money we need to send
I don't
there, so-
either.
Dave.
It's the
There
only
is a
way to
very
placate
their
the fan
beer is
base,
worth
though.
that. But
Dave. There is a very easy way to solve this. It is just Doritos Field at Molineux Stadium.
it's a corner.
Presented by
Remember
Goodyear.
that from the program?
Yeah, presented by Goodyear. I'd like Doritos back as a sponsor, at least for a season,
Did-
just so we could have.
Did you ever
Doritos.
see that
No.
there was an ad in the program? Actually, I'm going way back here, like 20 years when we got promoted. But I knew we were getting promoted because that season, because we just had the big choke where Albion and Birmingham went up ahead of us, and Moxie came out and said, "We have any sponsors next year, but we're going to wait until the time is right." I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be a new sponsor that everyone's going to absolutely hate." And then, of course, it comes out, it's Doritos. I'm like, "Yep, I was right." And I'm like, we're going up because we're going to finally get promoted to the Premier League, and I'm going to have to go to my local pub and watch Wolves wearing a shirt with freaking Doritos on the front. And sure enough, there I go. But in one of the programs, they had a little circle drawn around the corn chip saying, "It's a corner."
Oh,
the corner of the
no.
chip. I'm like, oh god, it just got worse. The black
Paul, is that the
Dorito shirt
worst?
was really
Is
nice,
that the
though.
worst sponsor Wolves have had, or was it Money Shop?
Yeah, Money Shop just had that tinge of payday loan about it that was just
Yeah.
nasty. So
I don't want to tell you what my friends call Astro Pay. You can use
I
your
can guess.
imagination. Yeah.
I think for sheer ugliness, ManBet X has got to be up there.
yeah,
Oh,
See,
yeah,
I
that
kind
was-
of
With like
Yeah.
I
with
kind
like
of
the
liked it.
McDonald's golden arches mixed in, and it's just
I
like,
kinda
oh,
liked
God,
it.
no.
I don't know why.
Yeah. No, I would much rather have Doritos than ManBet X again.
The black Dorito shirt was really nice. Like the fabric was nice, and I think it just worked on the black shirt.
Arctic Wolf needs to be the shirt sponsor, but without the text, and just have that. Like, how
Yeah.
sick would
Yeah.
that be?
Yeah.
Chaucer was nice.
Yeah, that
I
was
remember
a good one.
Chaucer.
Yeah.
That was like a 2007 and 6, 7, 8 type thing.
Yeah.
Well, guys, real briefly, the season's coming to an end this weekend against Arsenal. The game is on Sunday. Paul, what time's the game at? I can't even remember. Is it a 10?
7 a.m.
10:30 Central Time, I think.
No, it's 10 a.m. No, it's all they're all at the same time, 7 a.m. Pacific. So
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
How do you?
no,
I think
No, they're
11:30
11
Eastern. Yeah.
11:30 Eastern.
Is it 11?
10:30
8:30
Central.
Pacific.
Oh, they're all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Adam,
11:30.
after
Is it
after
7:30?
being-
Oh, I'm glad you told me this because I was
Yeah.
planning for 7.
Oh, you can
No,
sleep
it's
in a little
8:30,
bit.
Adam. 8:30.
Oh,
your time.
right. Sweet. I get 30 minutes.
I know.
extra.
Adam, after having to wake up
Hey.
in San Diego for a Wolves game, I'm like, how do they do it every Saturday waking up?
I kind of like it, and we haven't had a 4:30 for a long time.
Oh.
And I feel like the 4:30s they always lose anyway. It's just a
Yeah.
giant waste of time. But I don't know. I kind of like this. But you wake up, it's dark out still. Sometimes you feel like I don't know. There's I kind of like it. I kind of enjoy it, to be totally. I'm a morning person anyway, so I'd rather that than
Boys,
10 o'clock at night.
guys, you got to try watching a Wolves match in Hawaii.
Oh,
Middle of the night.
oh,
But actually, we played Southampton twice when I've been in Hawaii over the last few years, and we won both. So that's a good day when you can get up in the middle of the night. And we've beaten Spurs 3-1.
And you're in
at
Hawaii.
Wembley,
Yeah.
and you're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So it's really a meaningless game for Wolves and for Arsenal. All those people that paid $3,000 for their Arsenal tickets. I'm sorry.
yikes.
Yeah, yikes. Anyways, any surprises, Paul, that you're expecting at the game this weekend, or is it just going to kind of be like, playing it out until vacay starts?
I think we talked about it briefly earlier. I think it's going to be quite telling on Jose Sarr's future. I think if Bentley starts after Everton, I think that could spell curtains for Sarr in that he may look at Bentley, think, oh, is he a competent enough backup? If he is, I'm out to get the number one that I want. So that's one that I've got a look out for. And probably my other one now is probably the likes of Neto and Podence as well. I think they could be potentially some interest for them to depart personally as well. So I think that may factor into it. And apart from Raul, I think you factor in Raul, and with I think Diego Costa's cookout, barbecue, and party definitely came across as a farewell. So I think there's hopefully an element of bidding both him and Raul goodbye under the best terms possible.
How about you, Dave?
It's going to be an interesting one. I think, I think in the lounge, Paul Butler was the guest in the Worldwide Wolves Lounge. And by the way, anyone who does end up visiting Molineux, I highly recommend you stop in the Worldwide Wolves Lounge. They have a guest pretty much every game, which is a former player or somebody, which is great. But Paul Butler said, don't say that these last two matches mean nothing, because if we get 2 positive results and move up 2 places, what is that? An extra $6 million of prize money? I was looking at it today. There was some article. I remember when it was like each place was about £500,000. It's like £3 million.
Jeez.
I said dollars before, £3 million every place. So don't think that Lopetegui isn't thinking about that. So it absolutely means something to Wolves, and especially because we could move above Chelsea, which would be awesome. But reality is, our players checked out. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Players probably have read the tea leaves on what's going to be happening with them in the summer and into next season. Even if they're still around, they're not, the apple of Lopetegui's eye. So motivating yourself in that way is tough. But if we're saying that the Wolves players aren't motivated, how motivated do you think Arsenal's players are right now?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would love to get a final win. I want us to beat Arsenal on the last day. My dad's side of the family are all Arsenal fans, so I've been enjoying the last week and a half, and I would love to finish the season with a win at Arsenal. When we beat them 3-1 at Molineux, I had been waiting since 1979 to beat Arsenal in the top flight or beat Arsenal in any fashion. I love that, and I would love it on Sunday just as much.
Adam, what do you see? Anything of importance happening on Sunday?
I think it's funny because I was thinking to myself, how many TV screens can I get up in my living room, and on which size screen will Wolves be on? Because it doesn't really matter, except to Dave's point, like, money. And to watch, I want to watch Neves' last game, obviously, probably, and Raul, but
and Adama.
But man, there's some fun games going on. Like, it's gonna be. Last year I went to my friend's house in my hometown. We all went, and we had like 8 TVs set up to watch the final day, and there's some big matches on. So but for Wolves specifically, God, what I would give to see Raul score a goal. Oh my God. What I would give to see Raul score a goal.
A near post header in that exact spot.
With David Luiz watching from the stands.
In the 9th minute of injury time.
Yeah, honestly, man, if I could have one wish, that would be it. So, yeah, it'll be a bittersweet game.
All right. Well, let's look at the standings for the Predictor League. Last week, there were points to be had. In fact, 3 points by our guest spot, Brian Donnelly, and 3 points from Alex with a 1-1 draw. And Paul, you had a draw, so you get a point. But bad news, Paul. With only 1 game to go, you're relegated.
Okay.
With 18 points. The top spot is the guest spot with 32. And Alex, you passed me. You have 24 points with my 23. So rather big game this weekend. So we'll start with our guests here to carry on. See if you guys can break the 30 or get to the 35-point barrier. Dave, how about you start? What's your prediction?
2-1 Wolves.
2-1 Wolves. Okay.
Whoa.
How about you, Adam?
Shoot. I'll just say because it was my gut, it was 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. Okay.
I don't feel good about that.
All right. No pressure, Alex.
Arsenal are done. Like they're cooked. A couple Wolves players have something to prove. A boring 1-0 while we all have our eyes on the relegation battle.
1-0 Wolves?
Yeah, sorry. 1-0 Wolves.
Okay. All right. Paul?
I'm going to say it's got a hint of end of season about it. I really want to save the main points to when it really matters. So I'll go for a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Guys, I think everybody's ready for Cancun. I'm going to say it is a 0-0 draw.
Yawn.
Yeah, yawn. I think everybody's just packing it up. Packing it up. All righty. And guys, before we go, Dave, and then I'll get to you, Adam, what is the best advice you can give for people that are wanting to go to Wolverhampton to a game for their first time, like I will be next year? What's the best advice you can give?
Wow. I would say get connected with some locals. And
Locals as in Wolverhampton locals, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, any sort of long-standing Wolves fan like Paul or myself, or, even Adam and Alex, you've been to games and you met up with some folks, I think. Meet up with some locals, and they can show you the high points, Great Western, Dilshad. I'm gonna typecast myself by listing off a load of pubs you should go to, but yeah, I would do that. Get a little bit of the experience. I think there's a lot of folks in Wolverhampton that are happy to host people and show you around, and it'll enhance the experience. Enjoy it like a local, and go to the Worldwide Wolves Lounge.
Yeah, I just want to say, Dave is, he's also sent like a 2-page Word document of recommendations before. So I feel like he's playing it coy. He's got recommendations like crazy, because when I was getting ready to go over there, he broke it down pretty good. So anyone could also contact him or this show before you go, because the likelihood is that we would want you on as a guest afterwards. So hit us up at WLW Pod and we can share that, because he took the time to put together a document, to which I followed, and I was only there for like 36 hours, and I threw up on the train back to London for a reason.
That sounds
they're like stupid American.
So you literally followed all my recommendations,
and it's not because I don't get any motion sickness or anything. It's because I really went through that
in the pub section. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to anticipate either the LePage family or Stu from the Fancast to welcome me with open arms when I go out there. Adam, what's the best advice you can give people?
I have kind of two, but they're kind of the same. Stay at the Novotel for sure. Great place for player watching because they're there. It's really cool to see them there, and you just sit by the bar and they just walk past, and it's really cool. And the other part of that is, I've met so many people just sitting at the Novotel bar, who fly in from Ireland or drove up from London, or you just sit there, and then I'll be at the Great Western 2 hours later, and they're like, "Hey, we were at the Novotel," and like and hanging out with the locals at the pubs and talking to people. When I tell you, the people in Wolverhampton are the kindest, the nicest. Like, I've had such an amazing experience when I go there, and I've got the American accent, so I stick out like a sore thumb where people go, why are you here? And then we get into a chat, and they're like, wait, you flew all the way here to watch Wolves? And that's it, and they want to talk to you and take care of you and buy you a drink, and you buy them drinks, and just hanging out with the people, is always my favorite experience going there. Forget the players. Like, I love just being at the pubs, hanging out with the people, like, and the fans who they want to talk your ear off about every game they've ever been to. And I want to hear all of it, So start at the Novotel bar and go from there.
That's a really great point, because I think when you look at some of the feedback on some of the Facebook posts and stuff, you almost feel like a little bit of antagonism, like, hey, we're locals, what are all these international fans doing? But then your experience is the exact opposite of that, which is great to hear.
It's the opposite. And like, even, there was some comments, vocal minority about our going over there and playing, of like, oh, these guys. But you know what? And I made some tweet about it. And I had hundreds of people hit me up and just like, dude, forget all that. We're so stoked that you're here. We're so glad that you're here. I saw people when I was going into the stadium on Saturday, the security guard, I forget his name, is like, hey, you're Adam from Twitter. Gave me a big hug. He's like, I was DMing with you. That happened to me at least 15 times, of like, hey, I recognize you from Twitter. And like, thanks for coming back. We're glad. Remember when and they were literally like, you were here for the Burnley game last year. I was like, how do you remember? Like, what? That's insane, So that's the hanging out with the locals. Always my favorite part. And when we were there last week, I was like, right, I just forgot how much I just love hanging out with the people here. Best people. Yeah.
Paul, do you think everybody's gonna have their minds blown the first time I pull out a y'all in Wolverhampton?
Yeah, there's American and there's Texan, and that firmly fits into Texan. And yeah,
you'll have trouble understanding them. They'll have trouble understanding you. It'll be perfect.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've talked enough to Dan John, so at least, I can...
He's not as bad as some of that. I forget some when I go over there. I'm like, what language are you talking?
My wife, every time she hears Dan talk, she goes, I can't understand a word he's saying.
You should try Steve Bull. It's the oldest surviving dialect of Old English, I'll have you know.
And you did. I don't think we mentioned we got to meet Bully. Did we mention that on this?
No,
you did not.
Name dropping.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. He came up and talked to us in the International Lounge, and that was like kind of amazing. And like, my God, does that man just like the energy? He just puts off like, I am Steve Bull energy. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. He saw my little wolf and he said, that's not supposed to be me, is it? And he said, it looks more like Tomo, because Tomo's about that tall. Andy Thompson, which was really funny. Because he said it in a thick Tipton accent.
That's awesome. Guys, how can we find you on Twitter or online?
I am Hey Dude, I'm Adam on everything.
I am Wolves Dave on everything. The New York Wolves, it is NYC Wolves fans on Twitter, and Wolves Dave on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah.
If you're in New York, go watch a game with New York Wolves. It's a blast. You guys have a really good time. Last time I was there, I was painfully hungover. So I'll try not to do that next time.
God, we're getting a reputation, aren't we?
We're doing it. It was before. That was a work. I went to you hungover. I was at a work event the day before. So maybe my work's getting a bad reputation.
Technically, you and I used to work in the same building, because my old office when I was a previous company was in the Paramount.
We're fourth floor.
Paramount Plaza?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We were 38.
So. Oh man, there you go. Small world, guys.
All right, Paul, my drink's gone, so that signals the end.
Yeah, last but one episode, listeners. We'll be back after the Arsenal game to break it down, bring you up to speed with any news, developments and happenings as this season comes to an end and the off-field drama continues. We'll be going through that as a special end of season episode like we've done previously. So in the meantime, let's finish strong. Up the mighty Wolves.